What's up everybody, I'm Jesse, this is my garage, and we're about to get into the 300ZX. We got the front suspension to get into. I want to talk about 5 suspension mods for the front of your 300ZX that are under $30. All right, so you've got yourself a 30-year-old project car, and the suspension hasn't been touched. It's probably pretty wore out. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today, under $30, it goes for your lower control arm. On your lower control arm, it is located front suspension. There's a ball joint that connects to the knuckle, and it goes over here to the subframe, this whole arm right here. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna talk about is the rear bushing on your lower control arm. All right, well this kit right here from Energy Suspension, 2 front lower control arm bushing sets here. And this is kind of what I was talking about. This bushing right here on the back. How we're gonna do this, check out some of the other videos. We're going to replace all this stuff. You're actually going to see all these parts go on the car and what has to be done to replace them. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. But this set right here, this is 2 of them, $28 for this. And so what happens on the other ones is they get all wore out. This is a lot thicker than the bushings that are on there. Then get oblonged, and the rubber can get wore out. So for $28, you're gonna go ahead and 28 years of abuse. We're gonna start over with some reinforced bushings that are gonna be better than the original ones. So that's number 1 on the 5 things that we're gonna talk about for your front suspension on the 300ZX. That's the lower control arm bushings. All right, so the next thing we're gonna talk about is the counterpart to the bushing on that lower control arm. You guessed it, it's our ball joint. Now this is gonna sit between the knuckle and the lower control arm and give you the range of motion, pivot from side to side. Now on a long enough time frame, every part's gonna wear out. So there's a good chance if this hasn't been replaced in the last 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, you're gonna bet you wanna put a new set of ball joints on your car. Now this one right here is from GK Tech. It is $28 for the ball joint. Your car will need 2 ball joints, 1 on each side, driver side and passenger side. We'll go over how to check those ball joints and install them when we put these parts on our car. But for right now, that'll get you thinking. Number 2, ball joint. The next thing we're going to talk about is your tie rods. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover the outer tie rod ends and the inner tie rod ends all in one. So here is what your outer tie rod end is going to look like. There's going to be a sealed ball joint on that. Same deal, same idea as the ball joint that we just replaced on the lower control arm, except this one's on your steering rack, so it moves. These boots rip. The ball joint gets wear out, the ball and socket gets wore out. This unit is how you adjust toe in and out. The more that this is threaded in, we'll kick a toe out, but that doesn't matter. We're not talking about alignments. But if it's wore out, you can see how you might not have a great alignment. So these I've seen anywhere between $25 to $32 for the single ones. Again, you will need 2 for each side. They're probably both wore out, let's be honest. Counterpart to the tie rod outer end is the tie rod inner end, and it's just what you think. It's a rod. So this goes into your steering rack, comes out, and then your tie rod end goes to that. You can adjust the toe by moving that in and out. That'll move the wheel in or out that way, depending on how far that's pushed in or out. Now these also have a ball and socket joint, and so they can tend to wear out over time. What really happens to these is they get bent, and once it gets bent, you're never going to have it in alignment. It's going to steer horribly, probably get a lot of bump steer. So when you're checking out your tie rods, make sure you look at your inners too, because they definitely get overlooked. On the tie rod outers, this guy definitely gets all the attention. That's what will draw your eye first if something's damaged. And sometimes it's not always easy to see if something's bent. It might be bent slightly, or the light might not be hitting it right, so you can't see it. It's kind of dark under the car. So tie rod inners, not really that hard to replace. We are going to replace them. The outers and the inners. These we're actually not going to use. I'm going to show you what we're going to replace on this car, just in case you have any questions. We're going to go 1 step further. Now these are more than $30, but I'm just going to show you what we're going to put on this guy right now. So this is a crazy looking tie rod outer, I know. This is what you'll be looking at. This is definitely an aftermarket one. This is going to allow you to adjust your bump steer. This is what we will be putting That's what we will be putting on 300ZX. I have them on my S13, They are awesome. I'll talk about those and how to align them. So we have a nice smooth steer. Once you lower the vehicle, all the geometry for the suspension gets all whacked out. That's why we have these adjustable tie rod ends, and we have all the adjustable control arms that'll allow us to get our suspension where it needs to be, not destroy our tires, and keep contact where it needs to be at. So that was the tie rod outer and the tie rod inner. We talked about those. Next thing we're gonna talk about is the sway bar bushing. All right, and that brings us back to our energy suspension. We got this set right here, which is our sway bar bushings for the 300ZX. This set is actually under $10. I got that set for $8.50. Now these bushings right here are gonna be way better than the wore out. I can guarantee probably nobody has changed your sway bar bushings. So 10 bucks and you'll be right back to when it was new again. All right, so if you don't know exactly where your sway bar's at or what it looks like, it is right here. This one is super dirty. It bolts up to the frame. This is the bushing that we will be replacing. I mean, you can already see this one's not tight. Like, look at this gap right there. This is 30-year-old bushing. That was the next item on our list of things under $30 to purchase for the front suspension on your 300ZX. All right, so the last item I have on this list for today is something called a Hubcentric ring. Now, it actually goes right here, and it will fill the gap. The inside hub ring on your rim, on your aftermarket rim, and the gap right here for this hub. Now this is a Nissan. I'm gonna put up what the hub ring looks like right here and what the size is. And so a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this. And this might not necessarily be a suspension part as it is wheels and tires, but I threw it on the list anyways because a set of Hubcentric rings are about $8. GK Tech has them if you're a Nissan guy. I think Fitment Industries has them too. And what that does is exactly what it says. It makes your rim, your wheel that contacts the ground and supports all the way to your vehicle Hubcentric. So it sits on your hub, because do you want to guess what the other part of that is? It doesn't sit on your hub, it sits on your lugs. Sits on your lug centric. It's always going to be sitting on the lugs and not actually the hub, which is supported by everything else. So Hubcentric rings. All right, now on those Hubcentric rings, you do have to know the diameter of your hub, and then you do have to know the inner diameter of your wheels. And so you can match those up. Whoever the manufacturer of the wheel is, they have the specs for the inner diameter of the hub on the wheel. So you can match up the correct ring size, because not all Hubcentric rings are the same. There are a special size on the outer diameter and the inner diameter. So the inner diameter of the ring is going to sit on this. The outer diameter of the ring is going to sit inside the wheel. So make sure you know the diameter of your wheel and your hub. Unless you have specific manufactured wheels for your car, if you have aftermarket wheels, they probably don't have Hubcentric rings on there. Get yourself a Hubcentric ring set, put them on your car, enjoy. All right, so that's all I have for suspension parts on your 300ZX under $30 list. If you got any value out of that, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see us install all these parts, hit that subscribe button. If you want more information on any of the stuff I talked about today, hit me on the comments. Love to go deeper in on any of this stuff that anybody has any questions on. Hopefully we can learn something together. And also we can order all that stuff for pretty cheap and have your car handling better than ever. All right, well, join me next time because we're gonna start tearing that apart. We had all the bushings replaced, the ball joints replaced, the tie rod, and there's an outers replaced. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.